Big story today, we continue to focus on the state of our hospitals in India. Let's get you the latest such incident that has happened. In fact, it's a rerun of what happened to 7-year-old dengue patient Adya Singh. This time, it's a 5-year-old girl who was admitted in Delhi's BLK hospital for a bone marrow transplant, died after being infected. The girl's parents have alleged that the hospital did not inform them of the girl's deteriorating condition. And apart from that, they charged them a hefty amount of 19.5 lakh rupees for the treatment. And not only that, the parents also claim that they were asked to deposit another 9 lakh rupees to claim the body. But the hospital has denied all of these charges. Let's go across to Mohit, who's joining me on the phone line. Mohit, help us understand what really happened here and what is the hospital saying? The hospital completely denying all the charges that the parents have put forth?
Well, certainly, the hospital has very categorically said that all the allegations leveled by the parents are false, and there is nothing, no amount was actually asked by the hospital authorities to leave and hand over the dead body of the little girl to the parents back. At the same time, what must be noticed that in the statement, which has been given by the hospital authorities, this particular statement, it also talks about how there was, communication on all levels with the parents. They had said that, while the girl was there in the hospital for a bone marrow transplant, she had an infection, and the parents were regularly told about them, which is on complete contrast to what the parents had said. Now, the parents had leveled one of the other charges, saying that, if you talk about the infections also, they were not told about any of these infections which the girl was going through. There was absolutely no communication between the doctors and the parents. And at the same time, there was very high bill which was being charged from them. So these are the allegations leveled by the parents. But it seems that the hospital has come out in the open. It has issued a statement and very categorically denied that nothing of this sort actually happened.
Mohit, now obviously in this particular case, the hospital is categorically denied it, while the parents insist that there was negligence as far as the hospital is concerned. They're alleging overcharging. Has any authority sort of taken note of this? Is anyone going to look into and probe this matter at all?
Oh, well, if you talk about the current situation, no investigating agency is actually probing it. The government has not ordered any inquiry, any internal inquiry in this particular matter. No cognizance has been taken by the government agencies in this particular matter as well. So it doesn't seem that any investigation is on as of now. Even if you talk about the BLK, in its statement, it has very categorically said that the hospital authorities are not to be blamed. The doctors were one of the best who were looking after this girl child, and they made all attempts to ensure that she could be treated before she finally succumbed to this infection which she had after the post-operation infection that she had. As far as the other agencies, if we talk about the IMA, the DMA are concerned, the IMA has said that it's a very shocking case which has come to the fore. But that too has said that since the investigation should be done in this particular matter, it would be a matter of investigation as to what exactly happened. But no inquiry, since no inquiry has actually been ordered, it remains to be seen what will happen to this particular case.
All right, we leave it there. Thanks, Mohit, for getting us those details on this particular case.
अगर जनता को कोई भी लूटेगा गलत तरीके से या फिर गलत क्रिमिनल नेग्लिजेंस करेगा तो उसको बर्दाश्त नहीं किया जाएगा।
अगर ये हमारी मांगों बहुत जल्दी पूरी नहीं की गई और हमारी एग्जीक्यूटिव ने डिसीजन लिया तो आने वाले किसी भी दिन, चाहे वो सोमवार हो या मंगलवार हो, एट द शॉर्टेस्ट पॉसिबल टाइम we will take certain hard steps.
IMA is and will continue to work for the improvement of patient-doctor relationship.
सपोर्ट करते हैं मैक्स हॉस्पिटल को, इसका मतलब कॉर्पोरेट के साथ मिले हुए हैं और ये लगता है उन्हीं की तरफ से प्रायोजित इस तरह की धमकियां हैं जो भी है। डॉक्टर्स को मुझे लगता है उनके खिलाफ खड़े होना चाहिए, उन अस्पतालों को जो उनको भी ठगने में लगे हुए हैं, जनता को भी ठगने में लगे हुए हैं।
सरकार ने बिल्कुल सही फैसला लिया है लाइसेंस रद्द का। सर, सरकार ने पहली बार कोई अच्छा फैसला लिया है किसी हॉस्पिटल के खिलाफ।
My only question for them is what are the conditions under which a license can be revoked?
several complaints of medical negligence coming out of many such hospitals in the national capital, not just the city but across the country.
The Delhi Medical Association is up in arms protesting against the Delhi government's decision and threatening to go on a strike.
All right, meanwhile, the Indian Medical Association now has proposed a slew of measures to ensure transparency in private hospitals. Some of these proposals include the formation of a redressal committee to overlook medical and social issues, the capping of prices of disposable items, recommendations of medicines only from the subsidized list of national essential medicines. Remember, all of this, this move really comes in the backdrop of lives that have been lost due to medical negligence on the part of private hospitals. Let's actually go across to Milan, who's joining us live at this point. Milan, help us understand what the IMA is really saying in terms of these recommendations. First, take us through what the recommendations really are.
Well, the Indian Medical Association has come up with a long list of recommendations there. This is in order to create a better communicative environment between the doctors here and the patients, as the IMA feels that for a lot of cases of medical complications there, the doctors are being created a scapegoat out of, and such has happened in the case of Max Hospital, Shalimar Bagh as well. This is what the IMA feels when in the case of the twins, one of them who was mistakenly declared dead and wrapped in a plastic bag and given to the parents was found alive. Now, one of the recommendations here to point out is also that the patient has every right to gather reports within 72 hours of admission there, with the IMA also stating that the doctors have full responsibility and should also inform patients of other options of treatment. So to say that if you're going to a specialty hospital or an expensive hospital like Max, you should be told how much the treatment will cost at the first instant, rather than then increasing the bills after the treatment and overcharging a patient where the patient is not aware of how much is being should be paid. And these are some of the recommendations that the IMA made, clearly pointing out to the fact that the doctors are not responsible or not to be completely blamed for cases that are complicated in this matter. And they were clearly taking the side of the doctors and the medical fraternity, who they feel have been made scapegoats out of. While the patients and the parents, citizens who avail healthcare facilities are taken for a ride there with us. We know that the Delhi government has said about the Max Hospital that they are repeat offenders. And this is not the first time that they have created a problem there with the government having to take had to take a strict action to suspend their license there. The patients also who were getting dialysis in the Max Hospital were not happy about it, and so were the doctors, who were saying that every blame is taken on the doctor and nobody thinks about what the medical fraternity has to face. Back to you.
Right. Now, Milan, when these proposals and these recommendations were really talked about, was there any further discussion? Because it's not just, this is not the first time that there are recommendations, there are rules in place as far as hospitals are concerned. Obviously, they're not being adhered to. And now when the government is actually cracking down on this kind of negligence, the IMA is actually coming out in support of the hospital, in support of the doctors, saying that it's too harsh a punishment for them by cancelling the license. But as far as the actual implementation is concerned of these recommendations, what did the IMA have to say on that?
The IMA is an association, so they have recommended these pointers to the government of India. In fact, they have said that one of the letters have been sent to the Union Health Ministry as well as Delhi State Health Minister Satyendra Jain as well. And they should look into the implementation of these recommendations so that no such untoward incident takes place, especially in the cases of criminal negligence. But the IMA has also said that there should have been a proper inquiry that should have been conducted in these particular cases. Well, they allege that the Delhi government, in a haste, went ahead and cancelled the license of Max Hospital. Well, shutting down a hospital is not the solution to the problem, as that is not the only hospital that is found to be negligent. There are many such hospitals, not just in the national capital, but across the country that are found to be creating, a problem like this. And also in cases of medical negligence there, the doctors have said that an inquiry inquiry should be done by either the Delhi Medical Council or the Medical Council of India, and only after thorough investigation and research should the doctors be punished there. But the two doctors in this case were immediately suspended by the Max Hospital without any inquiry. So these are the kind of instances that the IMA has spoken against, and they have also said, with the Delhi Medical Association has also said that they will go on a strike there, although no clear voice has come out yet on whether they will indeed go ahead with the strike, which they slated would be on Thursday. But they have said that they will raise their voice against the doctors that are being made a scapegoat out of in these cases.
All right, Milan, stay with us. We've got a caller on the phone line with us, Sudhir Pandey, who's calling us from Mumbai. Hi, Sudhir. Thanks for calling in. Go ahead. What would you like to say?
Yeah, actually, what I was listening to first case that the patient got suffered with some infection and then finally he died and all that. See, keeping the hospital absolutely infection-free is the responsibility of hospital, and they should ensure that if suppose it happens, they should be held accountable for that. They should compensate heavily for all this. Either they should be punished or they should compensate monetarily, because keeping the hospital infection-free is because they charge so high. Second thing I would like to say, the Max Hospital license got cancelled. I is the first exemplary punishment which is given to that. Any organization or any human being, we always have some side of people who are slack. Unless we won't punish them, how we can keep them on their toes. Thirdly, what I would like to say, there should be a team of doctors who should be honest and who are true, and they should be assigned by the government. So in case of any unscrupulous activity going on in the hospital, attendant can immediately call them and they can come and cross check, because usually we are not aware of medical negligence or what is going on. We are just dependent on the doctor.
Absolutely.
And one more last thing I would like to say, usually this will go exorbitantly high because people are ignorant. When the patient is brain dead, these hospitals keep on keeping the patient on the ventilator. So it costs about 60,000 rupees per day. And after 10-15 days, they say, okay, now we pull the plug and the patient died. They say, okay, now the bill is 20 lakh rupees. So that thing actually very big malpractice which is going in the hospital. That's all.
Absolutely, Sudhir. In fact, thanks so much for calling in. In fact, those are some of the issues that we've also been trying to highlight here. And although there are doctors, the Indian Medical Association, the DMA, all of them getting together and saying that this is unjust and this is harsh as far as the cancellation of license is concerned, the fact is that it is a problem in private hospitals. There is unethical charge as far as certain areas are concerned, and something needs to be done about that. And in this particular case, Max has been made an example out of. We'll of course have to see how that really plays out. But meanwhile, let's also listen in to what KK Agarwal, the president of the Indian Medical Association, had to say this morning.
जितने भी डिस्पोजेबल्स हैं जिसके ऊपर में रोज स्टोरीज आ रही हैं, 1000% मार्जिन, 500% मार्जिन, 700% मार्जिन, 300% मार्जिन, हम जवाब दे दे के थक गए। सारे चैनल्स की सिरिंज के ऊपर में 5000 का बिल आ गया, 7000 का बिल आ गया, 1500 ग्लव्स यूज हो गए। ग्लव को आपने जो है वो 15 रुपए का ग्लव है, मार्केट में 1 रुपए का है, 2 रुपए का है। इसके ऊपर में हम सरकार से फिर हम एक मुहिम चालू कर रहे हैं कि वो सारे डिस्पोजेबल जो एसेंशियल हैं उसको कैपिंग करें।
All right, on that note, let's slip into a quick break and continue on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching The Big Story, and we're talking about the rising instances of negligence that we're seeing in private hospitals in India. Milan is still with us. Milan, help us understand, as far as the Max Hospital is concerned, the license was revoked by the state government there. There were protests as well outside the hospital. What's the update on that? Of course, we saw the DMA as well come out in support of Max Hospital and saying that the license should not have been revoked. But what's the update on that?
Yes, just a day after the Delhi government had announced that it is going ahead and cancelling the license of Max Hospital in Shalimar Bagh, there we saw patients and other citizens protesting outside the hospital, saying that people who were getting dialysis in the hospital, they were heart patients. One of them was also going through a chemotherapy treatment there. All were being asked to leave, as the government had clearly stated that no new patients will be taken in. In fact, emergency patients were told to go back. And the hospital was clearly not taking in any new patients there, while the people protesting outside the hospital clearly stated that in that particular area they have a government hospital which is also there, but they do not wish to go to the government hospital because they thought that the services provided by Max Hospital Shalimar Bagh were adequate enough for them. And they thought that the hasty decision taken by the government was ill thought, and the government did not think through, because shutting down the entire hospital means that it is inconvenience for the many patients who are going there every day, and especially also the EWS category patients who are going there. And this on the Delhi government's point of view, they said that on 22nd November they had given a notice to the Max Hospital Shalimar Bagh, asking them why certain norms are not being followed with respect to the beds that are supposed to be allocated for the EWS category patients and also dengue patients. And this is where the Health Minister Satyendra Jain had mentioned that this hospital is a repeat offender, and that's why it deserves to be made an example out of.
All right, Milan, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. That's as far as the battle that's going on Max Hospital and its license is concerned. But joining us on the phone line is Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. Thanks very much, Dr. Bagai, for joining in. You know, I know you believe as well that this is perhaps not the way to go about dealing with the situation. And, you know, the more rules and regulations really need to be put in place than revoking licenses of the entire hospitals. But, you know, what we saw today from the Indian Medical Association chief there talking about the different recommendations, if you've had a chance to go through them, what is your view on that? Do you believe that these kind of recommendations are sufficient? Because there are already rules and regulations that are in place and that are obviously not being followed.
Yeah, just a few important points. One is that self-regulation is the most important thing. And I think a vast majority of doctors do have self-regulation. We do have a lot of introspection to do things correctly. Point number two is we have checks and balances in place. We have a very strict Delhi Medical Council. We have a Medical Council of India. The hospitals have a redressal system, and patients seeking information are always given information. But these steps initiated by IMA are welcome. They are good. It's apart from stating what is already stated and re-regulating some of the facts, it's again an eye-opener to everyone, the patients, the doctors, that we have to do things correctly. But with regards, one inaccurate action which is under probe at the present moment, so I won't like to comment on the medical details of it, to shut down an entire medical facility I think is foolhardy. I think we need to take a step backwards. We need to introspect. What are we trying to prove? What we have done is we have disengaged thousands of personnel and officers who are working in that hospital, who now don't have a job. We have a lot of chronic patients who come for repeat dialysis, repeat chemotherapies, who may have to travel a much longer distance. I think when you're talking of accessibility, when this is providing that service to thousands of patients every day in that area, I think that facility should be allowed to continue. Take corrective action, yes, but don't demolish the tree which is actually serving to shade a lot of people.
All right, Dr. Bagai, if you can stay on the line with us, we've got Prakash calling us from Vijayawada. Hi, Prakash, thanks for calling in. Go ahead. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear this news on the screen now, and I appreciate your TV people bringing very important things. First of all, I must appreciate the Mirror now. You are doing very good job and taking the things and exposing it. And not only in Hyderabad, Vijayawada also same problem. And the doctors, they simply behave as they wish. And the other day, there were many deaths in child care hospital. So government is not at all serious about it. So I will really appreciate it if we can do something and expose these things so that you can save many lives. Even in the other day, North India also, a UP number of deaths.
All right.
I feel sorry because one more thing. Government people, even chief ministers are not serious about it. They are only worried about their political agenda, political and everything only. They are least bothered about the patient's health. So I really appreciate you are taking up, the other day also spoke on some other issue. So I am really thankful to you. And try to do something. I am sure public will come to that.
Right. All right. Thank you very much for calling us and sharing your views. We, of course, at Mirror Now, we consistently track these issues, taking them up time and again. But Dr. Bagai, I want to come back to you, go back to the point that you mentioned as far as self-regulation is concerned. You said that there is an IMA, there is a DMA, and, you know, introspection, self-regulation is concerned, and we can't sort of can't sort of overlook the people who come back, the chronic patients who come back for regular treatments. But that's exactly, you're exactly reiterating the point that I am trying to make, which is the fact that till now, despite the fact that you have the IMA, you have the DMA, there is clearly some sort of institutionalization of unethical profiteering. For one, we're seeing so many people saying that they're facing problems at hospitals, they're not getting the right information, the right treatments, they're being overcharged. So all of that, despite all of that, it's really not working. So obviously there is a need for some further regulation which needs to come in.
I think if you went through the brief of the IMA press conference, there are certain recommendations. We won't go through the full list because it's exhaustive and lengthy. But I think it's a introspection for all of us. But having said that, I will only like to make one point and reiterate it again and again. I think media has a huge role, not only to highlight these points. It's an eye-opener, like I said, for overall for us as a society, but to rebuild the beautiful relationship of patients and doctors. I think doctors, when they see patients, they should not be seen with the eye of suspicion. There is a whole thousands and hosts of doctors who do a phenomenal job. They go as unsung heroes. They save thousands of human lives. I think that needs to be also highlighted. In the same breath, I must add, if there is a case of negligence, yes, law will take its course.
Right.
But I think we need to be sensitive to the fact that to close down a medical establishment, I think, is a little harsh. And I think the government can take a relook at it. I think it's important that we all work together in a unified fashion. By axing a particular facility altogether may be counterproductive.
All right, Dr. Bagai, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. But the question is that patients are viewing doctors from the eye of suspicion because they've been burnt again and again, and which is the reason why, and which is why, you know, the question that we are constantly raising about additional regulation from the government's end on private hospitals is necessary. That is, in fact, to rebuild that relationship that you were talking about. But on that note, that's a wrap on this edition of The Big Story. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to Mirror Now.